Hi guys, it's Nicki. I am coming to you with The Handmaid's Tale, Season 2, Episode 5. It's called Seeds. I can't believe we're already on Episode 5. It feels like it just came out because every week I'm just like, give me more. Even this episode, by the end of it, I was like, I need more. But I did like this episode because y'all know how I feel about like flashbacks, and this had no flashbacks. I like flashbacks when they give me more information. But this episode had no flashbacks, so I was here for that. So, anyways, if you're new to the channel, like you haven't watched any of the videos, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch. If you're a subscriber and you've been following throughout the season, I want to thank you so much for that as well, especially all of the comments. Thank you guys. So let's just get into this video. So it starts out with June taking a sip of water when she remembers, and okay, so she's taking a sip of water and then she looks over to the side and she remembers she has those letters. So, well, I'm gonna not call her June this episode because she wasn't really June. She was Alfred. So she goes and gets the letters, and then we cut to the next scene where she's in the kitchen burning the letters. So she's burning up all of those letters one by one, which I'm like, June, what are you doing? Because, like, you could get caught. And so then Nick comes in. Luckily, it was just Nick. But he comes in and he's like, what are you doing? And she was like, I'm not supposed to have these or whatever. Because, you know, she could get caught with them or whatever. And so he's like, he's asking her, is she okay or something? And she says, I'm not supposed to be out of my room at night. So then she leaves. And, like, he knows that something mentally, she's got a little tick going and it's not, like, something's going on with her. But, like, there's really nothing Nick can do. So he stops the letters from burning, and then he takes the rest of them with him. And so we cut to the next scene with Aunt Lydia has came that morning. And so June is getting weighed, and she's just doing her whole checkup or whatever. So Aunt Lydia asks June, you know, when's the last time you used the bathroom? And Serena Joy answers. And she said she used it like at noon or something. But anyways, Aunt Lydia's asking June all these questions, and you could tell Serena Joy is getting annoyed with Aunt Lydia. So Aunt Lydia is writing in the book, and Serena Joy is looking, and I guess are the women not supposed to have things to write with? Can somebody let me know? Because Aunt Lydia says, oh, it's for, you know, it's for her to keep the documents and everything. I think all the aunts have them, but it's more of a burden or whatever. But so I was confused by that. So somebody let me know if the women are supposed to be, if they're not supposed to have that type of equipment. So anyways, so Aunt Lydia leaves. Serena Joy tells Aunt Lydia to come and have a cup of tea or and everything. And so Aunt Lydia is like, yeah. So Serena Joy is sitting down. The next scene is Serena Joy sitting down, and Aunt Lydia walks in, and she's making Aunt Lydia tea or whatever. And Aunt Lydia, she realizes Serena Joy has resentment towards her because she says something about, I'm happy that the baby is doing so well. And Serena Joy says, that the doctor would say so as well, or something along those lines. And so she's implying that, I don't know why you're checking up on her like this or doing all of this when we have a doctor that, you know, we can have the doctor do, you know, he's saying she's well and everything, so why are you caring about, her measurements and all of that? Why does she care? So Aunt Lydia lets Serena Joy know that, you know, it's important for June to have a ventilated room because when Aunt Lydia was doing when she was doing the checkup with June, she told June, you're a little musty. Start taking 2 baths a day. So Aunt Lydia tells Serena Joy she needs to have ventilation in the room, and she also lets her know that, you know, the mood in the household has to be good because it's all about the baby. And Serena Joy is telling Aunt Lydia, okay, you know, she's like resentfully saying okay, but she says June is not herself or whatever. You know, she's not acting like June, because it's not June, it's really Alfred. But so then Aunt Lydia lets her know that they took a lot of time and effort to break June. So that, you know, I guess Aunt Lydia is really like, well, how do you expect her to act? We broke her because this is what was best for you and your household, and now Serena Joy has this resentment She didn't say that. You know how I like to paraphrase or whatever. But anyway, but it is kind of like Serena Joy. They gave you exactly what you wanted. You have an obedient June. This is what you said you wanted. This is what she is. But now you're complaining because she's not what you want. Because now that you have it, you realize that's not what you might have wanted. So anyways, Aunt Lydia decides not to have tea with Serena Joy, which was probably the best thing because that would have been an awkward tea. So as she's leaving out or whatever, the commander is meets Aunt Lydia. He's coming down the stairs with his computer and everything, and he's like, he asks about the baby, and she says the baby's good, and then he asks about the handmaid, and she tells him June is offered as well. So so then he's walking her out. He tells her, let me help you. And when they open the door and everything, Nick sees, I guess Nick was doing something with the car. But anyways, he offers to take the Lydia's suit. She had like a suit. I don't know. She had like a suitcase thing. So he offered to take it to the car. So he's taking that to the car for her. And she's telling Commander Waterford, he asks her, is it too early to know what the baby is? And she says, yes. They won't know until, well, I mean, they won't know until the baby is born or whatever. She said, but she thinks she's carrying a boy, and he's like, that's gonna be just like his father or something along that line. She says, and he says, yeah, that's just gonna be like his father. And he says, yes, every man wants a son like his father. And he he looks at Nick because he knows that's not his baby, and I'm thinking he's probably figured out that if it wasn't him, the only other person that June possibly could have been with was Nick. Because remember, he knows it's not his baby because and this is for people who are just picking up on this season. Remember on the last season when Serena Joy told him that June was pregnant, she let him know it's not by you. God wouldn't give someone so weak as you the ability to have children or whatever. So that's I thought that was funny because she was like really digging at him. And so now he's raising this child that he's going to have a child that he wanted, but he knows it's not his. He knows it's Nick or whatever. But the way he's looking at Nick, something's gonna go down. So then we go to Emily and Janine. So they're now in the, they're both in the colonies, and they've, linked up with each other or whatever. So Janine is Janine. She's looking at the bright side. Plus, she really took to Aunt Lydia, even though, like, that's why Aunt Lydia's Aunt Lydia, but she was also, when she could be, she was kind to Janine. But anyways, so Janine is just talking about, God, is she's just talking about God and her faith and everything. Emily is not really trying to hear it, but they show like there's these two women and their names are Kit and Fiona, and and they show them, and they're in a relationship or whatever, and they're in the colonies, and they are working, and so they go out to the colonies to start their work day, and Kit falls, and when Kit falls, Fiona is helping her up. They're all helping them up, and Emily had told Kit, did she want medicines, meds to try to help her get better, and Kit was like, no, give it to someone else, because she knows she's dying. So she was like, don't waste medicine on me when it's not going to do anything for me. So Janine asked Emily, did she not want the medicines, and Janine was like, no, Emily was like, no, because she she says it isn't wasted, and Emily was like, Kit's dying, and Janine was like, Kit's dying, and Emily was pretty much like, what do you think happens here? Like, you come here, you work, and then you die. That's the colonies. They work you until you die. So that's that scene. So then we go to June, who is in the bathroom. She's on the toilet, and she reaches for the toilet paper. And I've been accused of using a lot of, I don't know why I use, anyways. But she reaches for this little piece of toilet paper or whatever, and I'm like, okay. But she puts it, in her vagina area, and she brings the toilet paper up, and we see that she's bleeding, she's spotting. Um, and as she's looking at it, Rita comes in, and Rita averts her eyes, because Rita might have saw it, but she averted her eyes because June is on the toilet, and she's telling her that Serena is waiting for her. Excuse me, y'all. This sinus is waiting for her, but June doesn't tell Rita. She doesn't tell anyone. She just pulls up her, she flushes the toilet and everything, and she pulls up her, undergarments, and then she leaves. And so the next scene that we see is Serena and June walking. They go for a walk, and they're just walking or whatever. And Mrs. Waterford is talking to June, and she makes a comment of Zachary, about her. Yeah, I mean, I guess she's gonna be a vessel, but her nose is too big. Can't believe God would want to pass down that nose or whatever. So anyways, they run into Mrs. Scott. And she has a baby, and the baby is teething, so the baby is whining, crying or whatever. So Serena Joy asked her what's wrong, and she said, oh, she's teething. And she said, I don't think Mrs. Scott wants that baby. I don't think maybe she's just tired, but I don't think she really wanted this baby. But anyways, Serena says, oh, all she does is complain, like she's always complaining or whatever. And June is like, Serena is just talking. So then Serena tells June she wants to talk, like these walks are for her to talk to the baby, so the baby can familiarize Serena's voice or whatever. But she doesn't want to be the only one holding this conversation, which I don't know what she expects June to say. Like, they're not going to be friends. So I don't, okay. But anyway, so the next scene we go to is Nick is already in the kitchen, and the ladies are, June and Serena or Mrs. Waterford are coming into the kitchen. And so Nick asks them how was the walk or whatever, and Mrs. Waterford says it was good. And June just walks past Nick or whatever. So she walks past Nick to go to her room. And Nick tells Serena Joy, he's concerned about the handmaid. He's like, Mrs. Waterford, I'm concerned about the handmaid. And she was, she's pretty much like, what about her? And he was like, I think she needs to go. She's not herself. I think she needs to go to the doctor. And Serena Joy is just like, what? She goes to the doctor. The doctor says she's fine. And Nick is like, she needs a different kind of doctor. And and I'm like, Serena, you see, like, you've made the comment to Aunt Lydia that's, June is not June. They're like, y'all need to go and get her like her mentally examined or whatever. And she was like, she's fine or whatever. And Nick was like, she doesn't have anyone to watch out for her. And Serena Joy's like, it looks like she does or whatever. And so that's that scene. So then we go to Serena Joy is going to, the commander is eating breakfast, and Rita has, everything going with him. He's working or whatever. So Serena Joy comes in, and she sits down, and the commander is not paying attention to her. So she's talking about, I think she said something about the walk or something, and he's not paying attention. And then she said something about Nick was there to greet us when we came back. It's so nice how he pays, he was waiting for us, and it's so nice how he's concerned about Offred. And that gets his attention. Like, that gets his attention. And at first I thought Serena Joy was doing that because you can clearly see in this episode that she's lonely. You could see that, but it was a mixture of things. I was like, is she doing this out of spite? Like, because she knows that that's not his baby, and she knows that telling the commander Nick is concerned about the handmaid is because it's the baby, or why is she telling him this or whatever. So anyways, that's that part. And then, so the next thing we go to is the commander. He's at work, and his, I guess, superior's name is Andrew. And so the commander is giving him like some information or whatever, just about how he thinks they can make the stay of people from other districts and stuff, get the Gilead experience. And so then he tells Andrew, I need a personal favor or whatever, and Andrew's like, what's up? And he tells him, my driver has been he's very loyal, he's worked hard or whatever, and I was thinking of recommending him Washington. Now we know he really is just trying to get rid of Nick. He's just trying to get rid of Nick because I guess a part of it is because he is jealous at the fact that Nick is the one who had this baby, and another part I guess might be, and then you have to look at Nick. He feels the way Serena Joy feels, probably, that he doesn't get to, because he can't have children. Serena Joy can't have children, so now they're depending on these two people to have children for them, and they're starting to feel resentment towards them. That's what I feel like. Tell me what you think. So he tells him he thinks he should go to Washington, and Andrew is just like, hasn't he been loyal to you, and isn't he great and all that? And Commander was like, yes. And he was like, well, I would think that you would want to keep someone like that. And then he reads this scripture. It was I think it was from Proverbs. I think so. But anyways, he reads this scripture out, and it really is, to me, it's like it's telling the Commander, like, we're not gonna get rid of someone. That's how I took it. Y'all tell me how you took it. I took it as they know what the Commander has been doing. Like, they know that they know he can have some shady ways, and they're like, we're not gonna get rid of someone who's been loyal to you or whatever, or who could possibly help keep you in line, or not even so keep you in line, but who knows so much or too much, just because you feel like he knows too much and you want to get rid of him, or because you've done things, that's how I took it. So tell me how you guys took it. Anyways, so June is in the tub, and the tub is full of blood. Like, she is bleeding, like, and I'm like, June, are you gonna tell somebody that you're like, because it seems like she's miscarrying, but June is just in the tub, and she's not telling anyone that she's like really bleeding, and she's not telling anyone. So then she puts in a line. She gets dressed and she puts in a liner, like a pad or a panty liner, but she uses toilet paper because that's all they have. And she's in the kitchen, and then the next scene we see her in the kitchen, and she's drinking the little green juice. Now, last time she couldn't take it, but now she's trained herself to go ahead and drink it. And was anybody else, when you saw that, thinking like, do you remember on the scene of Get Out, on the movie, where the girl was eating the Fruit Loops and she was drinking the milk? Anyways, that's what that reminded me of. It was weird. But so then so Serena Joy comes in, and she tells her, are you ready to go to the prayer vaganza? And Serena Joy is like, excuse me, and June is like, yes, Mrs. Waterford. So then they go, and Serena Joy seems really upbeat, like, because she had resentment, and she almost seemed angry in the last part, but on this scene she was kind of upbeat, and she was like, the Commander naming it the prayer vaganza. I don't think that's a great name or whatever. And so then Serena Joy leaves out, and June stands up, and as she's standing up, she stumbles, and so Rita asks her, are you okay? And it takes her a moment to answer, but she says, yes, I'm fine, and she leaves. And then I noticed I'll talk about it later. But so then we see that they're at the prayer vaganza. Yeah, prayer vaganza. And we see that, y'all, I'm sorry, that's Hershey in her play thing playing. So then we see that she all of the Guardians come in, which is what Nicki is. All of the Guardians come in, and they're in two rows, and then the Commanders are on one. It's almost like they did it like a cathedral. When they used to like do the whole Rome thing, and they would be in that stadium, and everyone had their place. Well, it was the Commanders on one thing, and then on another section they had the wives, the handmaids, and then the maids, like Rita and everything. So they have them there, and the Guardians are being rewarded. So as they're being rewarded, they come and bring them a box. I I thought it was a medal in the box or whatever. So Nick looks down at the box, then he looks up, and I'm like, does he not want the medal? Like, what's going on? And so I think Nick is just as surprised because he didn't know what was happening either. So he's just as surprised as we are as we're watching it. So so then the man starts speaking and stuff and everything, and he starts talking about a helpmate, and I was like, well, what are they talking about? Well, I mean, because you know what the help is, it helpmate or helpmeet? Anyways, we know what it means. And then the next thing we know, these women come out, and they were dressed as brides. And so then they say, do you accept this, next chapter? Something like, do you accept the next chapter in this? And they say, I do. And Nick is looking, and he was one of the last people to say it, but he said, I do, quietly or whatever. And so in the box, there were rings. There were wedding rings. So they just got married. And those girls that they married, I'm like, how old are they? Because they look really, really young. So I was like, how old are they? Because it was weird. Because they look like teenagers, honestly. I was like, are they at least 18? Because these girls are looking extremely young. So the whole time, and what's so messed up about it is Mrs. Waterford, she knew this was happening, and it's like her way of digging back at June, I guess, because June was digging at her all last episode. So I guess because she turns around and says, doesn't he look handsome or whatever? And June is like, now after the whole ceremony is over or whatever, they're clapping and everything, and all of a sudden it just goes completely, you hear like this roar, like it's like the noise gets louder, 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 and then it just goes completely silent, and you can just hear like almost like a static sounding thing. And that's when I realized June has not talked, because normally on the episodes, June speaks. And, she's telling you her thoughts and all of that. And she has not done that at all this episode. And I was like, okay, so it's okay. I get it now, because it's more like if she was Uffred, then she wouldn't be having any, like, kind of thoughts the way June was, So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And I love The Handmaid's Tale because they do that kind of stuff. The way that they'll have a scene and they'll build up to that scene, and then when it happens, they'll just have music playing, or it'll be complete silence, and it's like but you still get the emotions from the actors and everything. That's why I love The Handmaid's Tale, because of that. Anyways, so then we go back to the colonies, and Janine sees a flower or whatever, and she was like, we couldn't have like these, because the wives would never let their yards grow, flowers or weeds or whatever like that. And Emily is just like, yeah, you're right or whatever. And so they talk about God, and they're talking about, Emily is like, how do you know, like, that he's like, what kind of protection is this? And Janine said, because he saved my life twice. And then she was like, that's how I know, or whatever. So then Kit collapses. And this time she's not getting up. Fiona goes over to her, and she tries to tell her, like, get up, but she's not getting up. So then they, some women come and take her. And Janine had made a wish. What's the thing called where you blow? It has all the little white things, and you blow it. I remember playing with those as a child. But you blow it, and she made a wish, and Emily had asked Janine what her wish was. Well, she told her, I can't tell you. It won't come. It won't come true, because Janine is childlike. And so then after Kit collapses or whatever, and they take her away, Janine says, I want to change my, wish. And so I guess she had wished for Kit to get, well, or whatever. So then we go to the scene where Nick is reading, the Love is Patient, Love is Kind. So he's reading that with his new wife, Commander Waterford, his wife. Rita's in the room, as well as June. So then they say, it's a celebration. Nick is married now, or whatever. And So they say, Rita, can you go and bring some champagne because it's a celebration. So Rita's going to get the champagne, and then Mrs. Waterford said, only married couples. So June, you can go on up to your room, is what she's pretty much telling her. And I don't like Mrs. Waterford's being like, June is mentally not there. You're just being mean for no reason. So then June is going up to her room or whatever, and Rita stops her, and she was like, she made a comment about how young the girl was. She was like, how young is she? And she was like, I guess they gotta start start somewhere, start at that age. I don't know, but she made that comment about how the girl being really young, and June doesn't say anything. And she asks June, do you want some cinnamon milk or whatever? And June's like, no. And she goes up to her room. And I would like to see Rita's backstory, because I don't remember it being last season. So I would like to know a little bit more about her backstory and how she became, what she is or whatever. So then we cut to the scene where June is reaching up to I think she was putting she was putting up her clothes, and she was putting her shoes up, I think. And I guess maybe she felt the pain then, but she had already been bleeding. But so she looks at her, she pulls up her dress and everything, and she is completely like bleeding. She's bleeding. And she takes off the red dress, and she's about to walk outside, and I guess she was going to tell someone. Then she stops, and she comes back into the room, and she goes and she sits by the windowsill, and she's just bleeding. And so then we go to the next scene, which is Emily. Emily is cleaning, she's trying to wash up or whatever. And y'all know how I feel about like, I could see June's blood, but when Emily pulled that tooth out, I think she pulled her tooth out, but I couldn't watch. Well, I think it did, because she was in her mouth. I couldn't watch that. Like, I let it play this time, because y'all know I didn't watch the when they got their arms burnt, because I thought they got something cut off, and y'all told me they got burnt. I could not watch her pull her teeth. I don't know, something about that makes me really uncomfortable. So anyways, so Emily is getting sick is what's really happening. So she hears a noise, and so it's all the ladies that have gathered together, and they're at a ceremony, and we find out it's Kit and Fiona. They're getting married or whatever, because they do have a woman who was a rabbi. So she's getting them married or whatever, and they have the pretty flowers, or their version of it. And Janine sees Emily, and she says, they're getting married. This was my idea or whatever. So then Emily grabs Janine, and she started walking her away, and she's like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do this? Like, because they could find us doing something like that, and they would starve us. And Janine is like, well, it's, they're happy. Janine is pretty much like, listen, we're miserable here. Why not try to make this as happy, try to make each other as happy as possible? While we're here, they're getting married, and they're happy about that. So then Emily is like, they start talking about God again, and Emily is like, well, where is he or whatever, because you lost your eye, and Emily, they did mutilation to Emily, so she's like, where was God in all of this or whatever? And Janine says God is watching, and and if it's ready, her time to go home or whatever, then she's gonna go home, and it's not up to Emily to keep her safe, that God is gonna do it for her. And so they just argue about, God, because Emily is like, he can't be protecting and watching us and leave us like this. And Janine is just like, I still have faith or whatever. And so that they just end with them pretty much mad. Not them mad, because Janine doesn't get mad, but pretty much with them just in an argument, they just walk away. So then we go to Serena Joy, and she's talking to Nick's wife, which and she's explaining to her, just what's gonna happen on her wedding night. Did anyone tell her or whatever? And she said, I guess yes. And then she's letting her know, we can see that the girl has been groomed for this, which I would like to see their story or her mother's story, because Serena Joy asked her about her mother. So I would like to see, like, how did they get them to do this, or whatever. I wouldn't be mad at that, like a few scenes about that. But anyway, she's letting her know that, the wedding night should be, it can be enjoyable. And the girl is pretty much like, I thought I was just, supposed to take it and then have babies. And Serena Joy is like, it can be enjoyable for the wife as well, and it can make a couple grow closer, or it's supposed to, because she and the commander are not growing closer or whatever. So then we go to the command. So that's the end of that season. She just wants to make sure the girl understands what's going to happen. So then the Commander Waterford is with Nick, and he tells them, you found a good woman, and stuff like that. And then he tells him that he pulled strings to get this done, because the commander, y'all don't know, they did this on purpose. So, and I don't know, I think the commander still kind of likes June in a way as well, and that's another reason. Like, I think the main reason is because Nick has the child that he's the father of his child. Plus, they know the relationship between June and Nick, so I think they're just sticking it to both of them, and it's trying to separate them as well. So anyways, the commander says, you were rewarded because we appreciate, family values and all of that. So Nick says that if it's by God's grace, he would be happy, he would love to have a child of his own. And the commander looks and he says, something like, yeah, that would by God's grace or whatever. So then Nick is walking out. He's about to go home or whatever. And did y'all hear something? Because the next thing we know, he's smoking a cigarette. Then he stops and he turns around. So was there a noise or anything? I rewind and watched it again, and I didn't hear anything. But anyways, he finds June on the ground, and she's like, it's because it's cold outside, maybe it seems like it's cold outside, as well as it's raining. So she's out there on the ground. Sorry, y'all. Hershey's, sit, Hershey's. So they see it's raining, it's cold outside, and June is on the ground and she's bleeding. And this is what I'm talking about, because they made it go, I think they made it go quiet. Well, it's like you can hear a noise, but it was quiet as well. You know how they do the or something like that. Anyways, y'all know what I'm talking about. But so Nick starts screaming for help, but you don't hear him screaming. You just see the actions and everything. And that's what I like about this show so much, that they do that kind of stuff. So then we go to Kid has died. So she's died, and they're having, every day they bring people together, and they have, they take the bodies of people who have died, because in an earlier scene, which I forgot to mention, but I'll mention now, Emily had told Janine to be like one of the bed people to get the bodies and everything, because when you do that, you get an egg for breakfast, and it'll help you last longer. But Janine doesn't want to do that. But so Kid has died, and they're trying to be respectful as far as her, her body and everything. And Emily comes up and she tells Janine, it was a lovely wedding and everything, which is, I guess, her way of apologizing or whatnot. So then we see that they're burying Kit, and Janine and Fiona, hold hands, because it gave Fiona comfort, because they're already living a miserable life. They know they're going to die, so it just gave her comfort, which was Janine's whole point to Emily anyways. Why not just, like, it's already miserable, why do we have to make it worse by just being, you don't, just because your situation is bad doesn't mean you have to be depressed and angry, and and I know it's hard not to be that way, because I work on that all the time myself, but you just have to push through or whatever is what Janine was pretty much saying. So that was that. So then we go back to June. So she's in the hospital now, and she wakes up, and Serena Joy sees she wakes up, and she says, thank God, and let me go and get the doctor. So she runs to get the doctor, and while she's there, June lifts the covers off of her, and she sees that their heart monitors on her stomach and everything for the baby. So the baby is still alive. She did not lose the baby. So then she looks, and then we see that there is a guard that is watching her. So June, excuse me, puts the cover over her head, and she is telling the baby that she's going to be, she's going to get out of there, that she's not something that they own. They're not going to tell her what her life is going to be. They're not going to groom her for what her life is going to be, that she's going to work and she's going to fight and she's going to get the baby out of there. And she's, she was crying and everything. And so now she's back. I think she's back to being June instead of more of going through the motions as Offred. So that was The Handmaid's Tale Seed. Oh my gosh. Y'all know on Hulu, I don't know if y'all watched that, but you know how you can have that extra scene, like they'll show you what the next episode is going to be. So the next episode, we're going to see when Gilead was all getting formed, and how Serena Joy was like, she was out there, because they showed a clip where she was like telling the people like to get with Gilead or whatever, and we see that she gets shot. So I think they're showing us why she can't have children. So I want to see that. Now I don't mind that flashback. I couldn't believe they didn't have any flashbacks, but then I was like, what would they flashback to? What would they flashback to? So yeah, it makes sense, unless they flashback to like show Fiona and Kit, but they were gonna die. But and then it also makes me wonder, like, what's the end game for Fiona? Like, not Fiona, but what's the end game for them at the colonies, because they're getting sick. So are they gonna be off this this season? I don't know. But that's The Handmaid's Tale. If you have not read the Handmaid's Tale book, you can look at, I'll put a link in the description, because I do the affiliate thing with Amazon. So yeah, I get a small percentage out of it, but I'm not doing that to make y'all like buy or anything. But if you haven't read it, the book is really good. So if you want to read it, just do that. It's kind of graphic, but it is what it is. But so you guys have a great day. I'm putting this out a little bit earlier because I have things to do today, so that's why I didn't put it out like my normal evening time, but I'll go back to that. Sorry the video is a little long. Even though the episodes seemed to go by quick, it had so much in it, it made the episode a little bit longer. Thanks guys, you have a great day.